Hello everyone, it is your favorite night out here, playing a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, where we have a little discussion on the Harpie Lady deck build that I personally use, and deck building with Harpie Lady as a whole. Not to mention a little bit of discussion of the history of the archetype, and why we need a Harpie Lady support release. Fantastic, like, share, and subscribe, and let's get on with it, shall we? We are also not sponsored by any brand names that may or may not be seen or mentioned within this video. Fantastic. Harpie Lady is one of the oldest archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh! And is also one of the more censored ones, as if memory serves, almost every Harpie Lady to be released in OCG has been censored when it has been brought into TCG for its release there. It benefits greatly while being generally well balanced, although not as capable of many of the current meta decks, with various support cards like Dino Wrestler Pankratops, I believe, which has the effect that if it's in your hand and your opponent has more monsters than you on the field, you can special summon it from your hand, which is absolutely a fantastic going second card for Harpie Lady decks. At least in my personal experience, although for the most part there are better choices. There's of course Ash Blossom and Ghost Spell, which is one of my personal favorite cards, although a lot of my discussion is for Master Duel rules, as I haven't played the hard TGC card game in a while. In fact, I've played OCG rule set in the hard card game more recently than I have TCG, so I apologize in advance for any confusion, because some of these cards at some point may be restricted or banned within either one of those three formats: Master Duel, TCG, or OCG. Alrighty then. Harpie Lady did recently, as of recording of this video, receive a update to Harpie's Pet Dragon as a level 7 support dragon monster, which if you have a level 6 or lower Harpie monster on the field, I believe, you can special summon it from the hand, and the opponent cannot target Harpie monster cards of level 6 or lower for attack. They can still be targeted for effects, I believe, though. Also, with Harpie's Pet Dragon Blast, I believe, being that it is a level 7, if you have a level 3 tutor in your hand, it can be a pathway, just like with Dino Wrestler Pankratops, into getting a powerful level 10 Synchro Summon onto the field. Another powerful aspect of the Harpie Lady deck is Harpie Lady Conductor, which has an effect that, if targeted by an effect or an attack that would destroy said monster, instead you can destroy, once per turn, a spell or a spell card on the field, which, with Hysteric Sign on the field, can be very beneficial, especially if you're trying to rebuild a broken board, considering that if Hysteric Sign is sent to the graveyard during the end phase, you can draw from your deck 3 uniquely named Harpie cards with Harpie in the name. So that gives you a lot of options, like Harpie's Featherstorm, which negates all monster effects for that turn, and Harpie's Feather Duster, if they have a bunch of spell cards or trap cards you want to rid yourself of, as long as they don't have something to negate it. If Harpie's Pet Dragon Blast is sent to the graveyard, which is the latest release, or what qualifies as Harpie Lady support, you can also send one, if it's sent to the field to the graveyard, other Harpie card, which, if it's Harpie Harpist, at the end phase, you can draw one, with exception of not being Harpie Harpist, Harpie Lady Harpist, to your hand, drawing it to your hand, which is absolutely fantastic to try to get more cards onto the field, because then you can get Harpie Perfumer and get a spell card out, such as Elegant Egotist, or Harpie's Feather Rest, which will give you 1 to 2 card draw after you return 3 Harpie monsters from the graveyard to your deck. If there's a level 6 or higher Harpie monster, you can draw 2. If it's not, you only draw 1. However, an extra draw is still an extra draw, so that tends to be fairly beneficial. Now concerning Harpie Lady's support release, Harpie Lady's been needing an updated support release for quite some time in order to remain competitive. While a decently strong deck it still is with what has been released, it's hardly competitive with even some of the older decks that still receive regular updates, like Dark Magician or Blue Eyes. Although Harpie Lady can still hold her own fairly well. Cyber Slash Harpie Lady, a level 8 synchro monster with the effect of, if a spell card is activated, you can target one monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand, avoiding those pesky graveyard effects. And it's fairly easy to get on the field, because you can use one level 4 Harpie Lady card as a tuner monster, even though they're not technically a tuner monster. Fantastic that be. However, the effect is limited to if a spell card is activated, and if they have any sort of defense against being targeted, say the card says it can't be targeted, well then that effect is a bit moot, but as a level 8 synchro that can be gotten relatively easy onto the field, that's fairly nice. There's Hysteric Party, which is very nice, because with the discarding of one card, you can, for as many spaces are available as possible, you can draw Harpie Lady monsters out from the graveyard after discarding a card, which means you can completely rebuild a board in one go. And if you have a special summoned Harpie Lady monster in there, like Harpie Conductor in the extra monster zone, that's 6 Harpie monsters ready to be food for other more powerful monsters or being brought into the field as the finishing blow itself. While very capable, it is very vulnerable and hasn't received as much love as even, say, Amazon Ness, which is another older archetype that still technically doesn't get a lot of love, despite being fairly capable. Although, arguably, it's become more capable than one of its closest relatives, Harpie Lady, because it has seen more attention than Harpie Lady has, despite Harpie Lady being one of the most classic of classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypes, which is absolutely fantastic, as it is one of my favorite decks to play. In fact, I think it literally is the most common deck I play in various forms. One of my favorite support cards to add is Goblinberg, which allows you to, when dropped on the field, special summon a level 4 lower monster from your hand, which is another fast track to getting Cyber Slash Harpie Lady onto the field. Fantastic. Generally speaking, Harpie Lady has largely been neglected, despite being potentially one of the strongest decks in the game. It's fairly capable even now, so in theory it wouldn't take much of a support release. A Pendulum support release, a release of support spell or trap cards, ideally spell cards, quick play. Then you have, you could probably, there hasn't been a decent ritual set released in the game, period, in a while. So there's that, there's Fusion Summon, that's available, or even another available and more capable Harpie Synchro Monster. It's just, I consider it a shame that such a classic deck gets largely ignored, even though it will still appear in promotional events done by the parent company. It is one of the most classic decks with a fairly large fan base, myself included, although that does mean I'm a bit biased in this discussion. Well, more than a bit biased, in fact. I would argue very biased. Harpie Lady, as it stands, is fairly strong, but nowhere near even where, say, Amazonness currently sits. Which Amazonness, where it currently sits with Sword, can hold its own fairly well against meta decks, although Harpie Lady, as it stands, does hold its own in general. I've even seen it in locals fairly regularly. Although, to be honest, it's mostly me and other known strong Harpie Lady fans at my Pacific local location. So, generally speaking, I'm doing this video not to simply complain that Harpie Lady hasn't received much support, but to point people out that it is a fairly capable deck. And it largely has gotten ignored, and despite the fact that it is one of the most classic of classic decks you can build, with many effective and very nice cards. I thank you for your time. Like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate everyone who's stuck around this long, of course. And let's hope to try to build, I probably do another video on this at some point. Let's try to get some support for Harpie Lady. Get the, alrighty then. Let's try to get the support building. Alrighty then. See everyone around.